Welcome to TalkRx with Dr. Neha. This week I have a special friend and Hay House author, Nancy Levin, joining me today. I'm so excited you're here, Nancy.
Me too, Neha. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So this, in TalkRx, basically what I do every week is have people ask questions. And so I shot you off. Hey, think about a communication question. Did you come up with one?
I did.
All right, let's hear it.
So I would love your advice for navigating, staying in connection when both parties are in trigger.
Okay. So how do you, when you're having your own reaction and someone's having their own, at the same time, what do you do in that moment?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's a good trigger for you? Like what's something that you're pretty reliably is going to trigger you?
Pretty reliably being told what to do.
Aha. So feeling like someone else is the boss of you.
Yeah.
Because when that happens, what happens for you? What's going on for you in that moment?
I actually begin to shut down.
So it feels like you don't have any choices. And you're going to shut down to protect yourself. Because when in your life did somebody tell you what to do and you felt like you were trapped? Not an easy one. No.
Yeah, it's interesting. What I immediately go to is the way in which I entrap myself, the way that I have created my own restriction and entrapment.
Okay.
Versus so much being entrapped, being externally.
Oh, interesting.
Versus it being pushed on me externally.
So I'm thinking young. Young, you felt like you did it to yourself. Okay.
Definitely.
And so how would you do that?
First, I would do it because my parents were very lenient.
Oh, wow.
And so to feel safe, I needed to create a container for myself that I felt safe inside of. So boundaries that I felt safe inside of.
So as you're speaking about this, can you feel any physical sensations in your body?
I actually can, right where you did that, I can sort of feel like a bit of a fire.
Aha, like running through the core of you.
Yeah.
So this is almost a way that you created your own safety. And you had all the freedom in the world, but this was like how you kept things safe. So now when somebody else comes in and does it, there's this huge reaction in you, which is like, don't do that, that's my job. And I'm doing it really well. Okay, so when you have that experience of shutting down, what emotion, how would you describe that? Like, is there an emotion that comes to mind with that shutting down? I'll help you.
It's almost a despair. It's almost a sense of, it's despair and like the negative aspect of surrender, as opposed to the positive aspect of surrender.
Oh, so like powerless and helpless.
Yeah, powerless and helpless.
So powerless, helpless. What was the despair?
Despair.
So this is interesting because this one's a little bit complicated because what it is you're right. It wasn't that someone else put this upon you, which is normally how it works.
Right.
This is, as a child, you longed for some structure.
Yeah.
And then you got really good at giving that to yourself, right? And now it's like if anybody else starts to impose that on you, right? Or even probably just share their own, right? Like connection to you or how they want to be in relationship with you, whatever it is, it comes across as like, oh no, those aren't the rules. That's not how it works anymore. So when you go into that space of despair and powerlessness, what do you want?
More than anything is I want freedom. I want to feel that I can say or do anything that I want to do, that I can be uncensored and unguarded.
What's so interesting is as long as you want to be alone,
Yeah.
that's going to work really well.
Yeah, that's
right?
exactly, yes, that's it.
Right? No. It's not a bad thing, right? You want to be free. But what I'm thinking is, it's almost like what you're wanting now is whatever this other person is this family or what is this?
I would say, let's say, it's in relationship.
Okay. So what's happening is you're now wanting to move into a different level of intimacy and connection. And in that space, You're saying, but like, you have to give me the amount of freedom my parents did. But you're actually seeking something much more intimate and connected.
This is resonant for me because, I had spent this chunk of time by myself out of relationship. And then going back into relationship,
Yep.
I noticed that there's still the knee-jerk of, it's so much easier to be alone. But what I understand also is that by being alone, I'm not rubbing up against anything. So of course it's easy to be alone.
And you're missing connection, touch, that intimacy that some part of you is craving. Right?
Yeah.
So this part of what do you do when you're both triggered? Well, for you, the first thing you want to know is, what are your physical sensations that are telling you that shutdown is happening? And you called it like a little bit of a fire through here when we started talking about it, right? And do you know where you feel like you're shutting down? Like physically, do you feel constricted anywhere? You're breathing, your heart racing, your stomach turning, tight muscles?
It's almost like, it's actually almost like a brain fog, like a shutdown of information in or out.
So you're thinking. It's like you can't even think clearly. Okay. So this is amazing because it's going to confusion or brain fog can actually be a way that you protect yourself, right? Which is when that happens, what you're going to say is, I can't talk about this right now. It's like you go into protection, right? And then you can physically remove yourself from whatever's happening. So the soft belly breathing, right, which is a simple tool, where instead of tightening up and constricting, what you do is you let your shoulders down, you take a nice deep breath, you let your abdomen be soft, right? You take a nice soft deep breath and you actually breathe into that feeling, because that feeling in your body is telling you something that you need that you're not able to say. Now, the coolest part is if you actually have that conversation, probably not in the moment that you're both triggered, but you take that break, right? One great way that you can say it is, hey, I noticed that your voice is escalating, or I heard you swear, whatever it is that happens for the other person. And I noticed that my tone is changing. So you only talk about the physical changes that are indisputable, right? I'm not showing up in the way that I want to create connection here. I need to go for a run. And then I'd love to talk to you about this after dinner. But don't ever break from someone in that moment and not tell them when you'll reconnect to them. Because then what happens is often people feel abandonment.
Yeah.
Like, now I showed who I really was. I told you I was upset. I'm feeling really painful, right? Or you can say, if just one person is feeling triggered, you just name what you're observing.
Yeah.
And then you say, how can I best support you? But when you're both triggered, you're not supporting anyone in that moment, because your job is to manage you before you engage.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really great pact to make when this isn't going on, which is, if let's say it was me and you as friends or as sisters or something like that. And what we'd say is, hey, I'd say, hey, Nance, like at dinner sometimes when we talk about X topic, whatever it is, I get really triggered. And I noticed that then I say something and then you're really triggered. What's like a fun way that we can remember that we are so lucky to be sisters? Like, and this is part of our growth and learning. And so we would come up with our own signal that we both agree to. I might pick something, like maybe I do time out, and maybe you pick, something else that means a peace sign or something that means it to you, that no one else needs to know, but like we know. You know what I mean? That's playful, loving, connected, and reminds you of your connection. Yeah?
That's helpful.
Yeah, thank you. So your takeaways, what would they be?
I really love when you said about don't leave someone hanging. Like, let them know when we're going to, when I'm coming back to resume this conversation.
Yeah.
Because I do think that often, the way that we plug into each other's core wounds. Yeah. So of course, given my background and given my stuff, I'm always going to be plugging into someone who has abandonment issues, because I don't.
That's right.
So I know that.
Yeah.
So it's helpful to know that I can safe port them in that way.
Yeah.
That, this is unresolvable right now. And,
Or how about this? Not this is unresolvable right now. I feel stuck right now.
I feel stuck right now.
Right? Because then all you're doing is taking responsibility for you.
Which I love.
Right?
I love
I feel
that.
stuck right now.
Yeah.
And I want to meet you in a way that supports our relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm not leaving you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to restore me.
Mm.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for any of you that are struggling with getting triggered, whether it's in a romantic relationship, whether it's in your family life around the dinner table, at work with colleagues or bosses, it's time to get curious about the physical sensations that are happening in your body, what thoughts you're creating about them, and what emotions they're bringing up in you, and really getting clear about what you want and need in that moment. And get really clear so you can tell other people how to signal you if something's happening or you're reacting or your tone is changing. And you can also ask them about the same thing. But just make sure that you do it at a time when that's not happening, because that's a little bit of a difficult time to go ahead and do that. All right, well, thanks for joining us this week. And I also want to tell you that Nancy has written this amazing book that I love. It's called Jump, and Your Life Will Appear. And I love that it's an inch-by-inch guide because I think really in learning to trust yourself, even you being here today and being willing to answer this, ask this question. We don't talk about it ahead of time before you're here. We just kind of go right in. That takes self-trust.
Yeah.
And so if any of you are wondering how to make a decision in your life and how to have these conversations, check out these books on the table. We'd really love you to.